Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Pacers Daily. I'm your host, Hery Acosta. Just some quick run-throughs today. Nothing too crazy. First things first. Former Pacer Doug McDermott has re-signed with the Kings. Now, this is not crazy Pacer news, but just a former Pacer who was here for a couple seasons, two different stints, played his role, good three-point shooter. He's kind of fallen out of rotations around the league, but now he's been with the Kings since last season when he signed after the Pacers waived him or just really didn't bring him back. But congrats to him on signing a new contract. He still has value in this league, but you know, he's one of those three catch and shoot guys that isn't really the best defender. So he's there to make his threes. He is a good shooter, so that is something that teams will have to continue to look at. But he's been kind of out of rotations for a few years now. But he's had stints with the Thunder, with the Bulls, just a bunch of different teams. But now he's found a home in Sacramento for the time being. So congrats to Doug McDermott. And now a little bit of some updates on Tyrese Haliburton. I know Pacers fans are going to be wanting to hear a lot more about Haliburton and just how he's doing. Good spirits. He was at the WNBA All-Star Game. By the way, props to Indianapolis for hosting a great event. It's good to see our city just hosting all these magnificent events, just seeing all the celebrities pop out, everybody coming to Indy. We had the NBA All-Star Game last year. We obviously always have the 500. We have March Madness is hosted here every year. So at least one of the rounds is here. But now we got the WNBA All-Star Game. It did suck to not see Caitlin Clark playing. I hope she nurses that injury well. But, just seeing how everyone was out, the entertainment level. I had some friends covering the events, so I thought that was cool. But, congratulations to Indianapolis for being able to host an event like that. That is big for the city. This city is getting a lot more recognition recently, and, has to do a lot with the young talent that we do have. Now, obviously, last time we hosted a Super Bowl was back in 2012, but now we hosted an NBA Finals this year, of course, because the Pacers were in there. So just a lot going on in Indy. Very nice to see. But back to Haliburton. Seems to be doing well. Obviously, this injury will keep him out all season, including if we're in the playoffs, make a deep run. He's not going to be able to play in any of that. But, he needs to nurse it. It is a torn Achilles. Those injuries last at least a year. We've seen a lot of players come back strong, but we've also seen a lot of players not really get back to that same explosive level. Now, don't get me wrong, Haliburton is a very explosive player, but a lot of his game he's a pass first point guard. Now, he does drive to the paint, he does dunk it, so that is something that we're gonna have to monitor when he comes back to see if he's still got that explosiveness after this injury. But obviously, players like Lillard is now 35 years old, might be a whole different ball game for him. Tatum, on the other hand, should be able to come back just fine. He's young as well. But the good thing about Hallie is he is only 25 years old, so his comeback should be a lot better than if he was in his 30s. So that is something good. That is a positive. But it's always good to see him happy, good to see him smiling. It's not easy not being able to play the sport you love for a year. I used to play soccer when I was younger. I had an injury, and then I couldn't play anymore. So I completely understand, that kind of, thing. So obviously, like always, prayers up to Hallie, and just continue to smile, continue to be happy, cheer on your team, be that leader from the sidelines, which we know he can be. And just a cute, slow little talk about Johnny Furphy and Cam Jones. Just two players I can see being kind of like guard or, small forward depth. But Furphy specifically, he plays the 3 mainly. Now, I think because of how we can organize this rotation, I think Furphy might play a little bit more than he did last year. It is his second season. He has shown some flashes. In the Summer League, he looked really good. He looked absolutely amazing in the Summer League. I personally think he's a good defender. In the few minutes that he played in the finals or just throughout the playoffs, and he had to guard one of the best players, he held his own, but he's aggressive on defense, does pick up some fouls, a little bit inconsistent, but he was a second-round rookie. You're not exactly going to get a LeBron James type player right away from the second round. But, just kind of, he's out there, does his work. So I'm kind of excited to see what he does. I would hope to see some minutes from him. And if he ends up having to play in the G League, that would be nice, just to get him some minutes, just to have him, on the court, getting that training, just being able to play against other people. So that's something to look at. And the same can probably be said about Cam Jones. Now, I think Cam Jones could be right behind T.J. McConnell in the rotation. That's kind of where you would expect him. I think he's a guy that's going to get minutes. If we end up going like 11, maybe 12 deep, I think that would be nice. The Pacers have been going 10, 11 deep throughout all of last season. So that's not something that is rare. That is something that the Pacers do. We've seen teams run 8, 9-player rotations, but because of how deep the Pacers have been for not just this season but last season, 10 to 11 players is pretty normal. Now, we were so deep that players like Jarris Walker were missing out on games because he wasn't part of the rotation. Thomas Bryant was sitting out some games because he wasn't part of that rotation. Him and Tony Bradley kept switching. If Wiseman would have been healthy, there would have probably been some games where he would have to sit out just because of how deep the team was. But obviously, Jackson and Wiseman were both out. But I personally think that Cam Jones could be an X factor. I mean, once again, another second-round pick that the Pacers have. Second straight year, no first-round picks, which, it's not the end of the world, but we did trade a few first-round picks over the last few years for some players. So it's just seeing how a player like Cam Jones develops, and he was in and out of that summer league. Obviously his first real NBA experience is not always going to be the easiest. But, it's just seeing how he does. I could definitely see him being right behind McConnell in the rotation. I can see him getting some minutes. Now, he's going to get a lot of DMPs. That's just how it's going to go. And he's probably going to spend some time with the Noblesville Boom, which, like Furphy, I think would be a great idea, just to develop him and just get him the minutes he deserves. I mean, we saw Ben Shepherd in his rookie season get minutes with the Boom and then quickly get directly into the rotation. He's getting more minutes than Walker, who Walker was picked 18 spots ahead of him in the draft. So that's definitely something to look at. I think the Pacers could play around with the rotation a lot this year, just because it's not that we don't have a chance at winning. It's just that because of Haliburton being out, now we can kind of test the waters with certain players, see how Cam Jones does, see how Taylor Peter does. If Taylor Peter kind of plays more in the NBA than he does in the G League, which I don't personally see that happening. See what Ray J. Dennis could do, see what Enrique Freeman could do. I could probably make an episode talking about some of our G League players and just to see how they can, develop and just do all that. Like I said earlier, this episode wasn't going to be too crazy, just kind of giving some analysis on a few things and just, just pretty much doing what I do. But, as always, I'm Hery Acosta. This is Pacers Daily. Boom, baby, and go Sirs.